We are back with another episode of Dark MAGA, where we go over more long-form content, which is a deviation away from our morning podcast that we do at 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time each and every day. Dark MAGA is only Tuesdays and Wednesdays, folks, and this gives you an opportunity to be a little bit more spicy in the chat, be a little bit more freaky-deaky, a little bit more crazy. If you want to go super crazy, this is how the layout works. There's also X if you want to go over there. YouTube is like PG. Rumble is rated R. So if you got something really crazy, wonky to say, I would say head over to Rumble for Dark MAGA and get your freedom of speech out there, folks, because that's what it's all about. Now, we're going to go right into content here because we got a lot of video to cover. Here's Charlie Kirk talking about Trump dropping another huge bomb on the Middle East. Ends it all. Here we go.
Studio. So yesterday, the breaking news was made public. President Donald Trump announced a historic ceasefire between Israel and Iran. However, albeit the wording of the Truth Social post confused some people. 12 hours here, 24 hours there. Can we put the Truth Social back up? I think it's very important.
Show us, Charlie.
So the ceasefire was announced. And just to understand the profundity of all this, President Donald Trump was able to get no nukes for Iran, no troops on the ground, no nation building, no quagmire, no endless wars, and the kicker, no U.S. troops dead.
Facts.
No U.S. troops
That's huge.
Dead.
That's huge.
So here you see the statement on screen. If you guys could resend it to me. Congratulations, everyone has been fully agreed that there is a ceasefire. So here's where people got a little confused. In approximately 6 hours from now, when Israel and Iran have wound down and completed their in-progress final missions, for 12 hours, at which point the war will be considered ended. Officially, Iran will start the ceasefire upon the 12th hour, and Israel will start the ceasefire upon the 24th hour, an official end to the 12-day war. Okay, so people were kind of confused about the timing. President Donald Trump worked very hard alongside J.D. Vance to get this deal done. He made the calls. He extended himself. And by the way, he also just put a lot of people in their place. President Donald Trump did not sleep last night. And now he's on a plane to NATO. I hope you understand that. He is now on a plane all the way.
You might be wondering, well, how does Charlie know that? Charlie is in very much the circle of Donald Trump's people. And so he knows the people right next to Trump. I believe him when he says he did not sleep last night. Some of you were commenting this morning for our normal morning podcast that Donald Trump looked tired. The guy has not, one, he doesn't sleep already, but I don't put it past this to be truth. I totally believe that he probably has not slept trying to get this stuff resolved.
I think it's in Belgium. I think that's where the NATO meeting is. It's at The Hague? Yeah, God, it's in the Netherlands then. So he's flying all the way around the world to the Netherlands to now go deal with all the NATO crowd. And he was at the G7 last week dealing with that whole cabal. So you got the G7 last week, and now he's going to NATO to go worry about Russia and Ukraine. The guy is a machine. A machine. And he brokered a settlement between Iran and Israel, 12-day war. Too many people died. Israel acted as they saw fit. And there's a lot of questions that are going to be coming up about, what are the intelligence and all that. I'm not as interested in that. A lot of people are going to be asking about that in the coming days. But what I am interested in, what I think is very important, is you don't mess with President Trump. And President Trump was very mad this morning.
Yes, he was.
Early. President Donald Trump had an early launch to NATO.
It doesn't help if you don't get any sleep. I mean, you're going to be tired as it is, right? You're a little groggy, woke up on the wrong side of the bed. You get a little bit psycho. And I would say he contained himself, and rightfully so. This thing could have really spiraled out of control. And with these two people, like he said, has been fighting for so long that they don't know what the F they're doing. Probably right.
I don't think I've ever heard him this mad, this public, as president to the press. Not even, think about this, during his 2 impeachments, through his indictments, through facing 700 years in federal prison, not even after he got shot did we see President Trump this mad.
Makes a good point.
Where President Donald Trump went right to the sticks. And he said, these guys have been fighting so hard, they don't know what the F they are doing. And this was the cuss heard around the world.
Yep.
And that was, hey, everybody, Dad didn't get any sleep last night. And Dad is mad.
That's right.
So you better knock it off, Israel and Iran, now. Stop it. I don't care who gets the last word. Bibi, you want to try to get the last word. Iran, you want to get the last word. Enough. Dad is mad. Stop being children.
Daddy's
Stop
pissed.
posturing. I am beyond ticked at both of you guys.
That's right.
And yes, he said that to Israel as well, equally with Iran, because Israel was playing a little games with, just kind of the timing and all that. No. And Trump said, I have done everything I possibly could do. We flew B-2 bombers from Missouri around the world to drop bunker busters to make sure a nuclear program did not exist for our own self-interest and also make sure that you guys do not have a nuke dropped on you.
Correct. And you're going to act like idiots.
Israel just started unloading huge strikes on Iran, like emptying the clip. And you could tell that was not exactly what President Trump heard when he was negotiating the ceasefire. And
my question, who's the one that's authorizing that? You know what I mean? Who's the idiot over there on both sides? I don't care who they are. Who's the idiots? They need to let go. They need to be fired. On the Israeli side and the Iranian side, they need to be let go. Because this could have spiraled and led to a way bigger, massive issue than it already was. People are messing with people's lives, man. It's BS. It's bull, man. It's bull. I'm trying to be PG here. I'm trying to be careful with my words.
And boy, Dad was ticked. And this is Trump at his best. This is Trump shows he's not owned by anybody. He's not controlled by anybody. He's not manipulated by anybody. This is all about, wait a second. No. Enough. You two little kids are fighting across each other. I'm not getting dog walked by anybody. This thing is over. If it's all about who's going to get the last word, this will be a ceasefire that will take 9 months to get done. Oh, Iran gets the last word, and they launch another 3 missiles, and then Israel gets the last word. Here's cut 403. President Donald Trump on no sleep on his way to NATO after the G7, trying to pass the big, beautiful bill.
Heard that Trump made a phone call right after the interviews this morning to Netanyahu and said to turn those damn planes around. I wouldn't doubt it. We got a video of the conversation, I believe, between them two. We'll try to see if we can get to it. But yeah, I heard there was a very similar conversation as well. And I heard the words weren't exactly the nicest coming out of Trump, and rightfully so.
Democrats are calling for his impeachment. He's settling what is now one of the most remarkable peace deals we've seen, an absolute masterclass. By the way, in addition to the India-Pakistan war that he solved and got no credit for.
That's what we commented
on. And he said
on.
enough. Yep. And boy, do I love this Trump. Play cut 403.
I don't think Trump bent the knee to
Israel,
anybody.
as soon as we made the deal, they came out and they dropped a load of bombs, the likes of which I'd never seen before. The biggest load that we've seen. I'm not happy with Israel. You know, when I say, okay, now you have 12 hours, you don't go out in the first hour and just drop everything you have on them. So I'm not happy with them. I'm not happy with Iran either. We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing. Do you understand that?
Okay, so I
wrong.
usually don't like using swear words or cussing. I 100% agree with this. The last rodeo, Angel Studios knew the F-bomb was heard around the world. President Donald Trump was calling the shots, and all of a sudden you see that there's this major payload being dropped, and he's enough. And I don't want to hear from all the clamoring class of people online yammering. Oh, Trump is controlled by a foreign power. Cut it out.
Silly.
President Trump's America first. He saw the nuclear program in Iran as a threat to America. He's been consistent about that for 20 years. For 20 years, President Trump has said no nukes for Iran. I know it might get you clicks. It might get you attention. Oh, you know, Trump is controlled by this. No.
Monica?
And President Trump will not being put up with
I've got a big load for you, Mr. President. What the?
Being embarrassed. And he was not embarrassed.
Hell?
But it was getting in the direction that a foreign power was trying to embarrass him. And look, Israel did suffer an awful bombing last night, and our sympathies to them. A direct
4
hit.
people gone. But
But a ceasefire is a ceasefire. This thing will never end. It'll never end if you just tit for tat and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. It's never going to end. And somebody eventually has to say peace is the prize. This is why wars are hard to an end. You think this one's hard to end? Russia, Ukraine. Who's going to get the last missile? Well, we're going to send another drone strike, or we're going to send another missile strike. And that's why it takes an alpha, it takes a leader, it takes someone with the stones and the cojones and the chutzpah and the spine to come in and just throw it down. And that's Donald Trump. With moral clarity, by the way. No nukes for Iran. We're on Western civilization's team. But Commander-in-Chief, I'm not going to oversee a 12-year war. I'm not going to oversee a year-and-a-half war. We're not going to do that. It's not going to happen. Enough. And you know what's so amazing? As soon as he dropped the F-bomb, all the fighting stopped. You know, I get alerts here on my phone of all the air alerts. Anytime there's an air alert in Israel, there's a Telegram channel, Israel Defense Forces. And so every time that there is an air siren, and last night it was every couple minutes. By the way, there was a big debate of whether or not Iran was in violation of the ceasefire. And it was like, well, they launched the missiles technically before the ceasefire, but they're going to land after the ceasefire. I said, what is this, the NBA? Like, well, the ball left his hand.
Before the buzzer. Yeah.
And then it still will count. It's like this NHL or NBA rules. Like, what are the rules of the ceasefire? It's like, well, as long as it leaves its hand, then eventually it can. Okay, it's just the dumbest stuff that was being argued on Twitter. Well, is this the NHL where the puck needs to be into the net by the time of regulation ending? Stop it. Here's what's important. Is President Trump runs the world. And has that not been on full display? And you better believe that the Chinese Communist Party is keeping tabs of all this. They say, whoa. You think Xi Jinping wants to get an F-bomb heard around the world? And the full military is at his disposal. Taking out Iran's nuclear program, incredibly important. A secondary of importance is now you saw that President Donald Trump, he is putting on a masterclass and he is calling shots. And our enemies better be taking notes because dad is home. It's a new chapter for America.
Because daddy's home. We got more news to cover. We're not going anywhere, so just be prepared. We have a comment here that says, so Charlie wants peace here, but he's saying nothing but Israel has the right to defend itself since October 7th, 2023. Well, yeah, I mean, Charlie has consistently advocated for peace while at the same time recognizing Israel's right to self-defense, especially after those horrific attacks. I would say that like supporting a nation's security doesn't contradict a desire for peace. I mean, it'd be the same analogy for Trump here, going and taking out Iran's nuclear facilities. He still desires peace. And sometimes you need force to issue the peace in the first place. I kind of mentioned the force doctrine that's been presented a lot by Andrew Wilson of the Crucible. We're fans of the Crucible here, so shout out to everybody that's from the Crucible. But he's correct in the sense of peace through strength. That's the only reason you have your rights, by the way, is that the fact that there's some force out there that's greater than you that's allowing you to have those rights as of right now. All that would need to happen is a force that's greater than you to take out that peace at the end of the day. Well, I mean, you could believe that Charlie's not a real Christian. I don't know about that, but I think he is, alleged to him. But I mean, you don't know Charlie and I don't know him personally. So with that being said, I think you could do both at the same time. I think you could walk and chew gum at the same time. You could say that a country has a right to defend itself, but still want peace at the end of the day. I think you can have both. So Jeff says Trump literally deterred Russia and China. And if any country, aka Russia, supplies Iran with nuclear weapons, would be a death sentence. Maybe. Definitely maybe. We'll see. But Medvedev, the former president of Russia, has walked back his statements. Now, Trump has a 4-letter word, and it's not frustrated. Let me just tell you, it's not frustrated. But let me go to Peter Ducey really quick here. It's a couple-minute clip. Trump's first call with Benjamin Netanyahu after Iran strikes revealed. This is a little bit about what Jeff was referring to in the chat. Here we go.
Peter Ducey. Hi, Peter.
And Martha, just as you were showing the video, the live picture rather, of the class photo being taken, I received a text message from a White House official traveling with the president who is confirming to us now that after Saturday's strikes in Iran, the U.S. strikes on the nuclear facilities in Iran, President Trump told Benjamin Netanyahu not to expect.
Hold on, I want to go back to that picture. I was told Zelensky, there he is. The dude wore a suit. Can you believe it? Zelensky put on a suit. Wow.
In Iran,
He probably wasn't allowed to come if he didn't put one on.
Trump told Benjamin Netanyahu.
Okay, we don't need the bold statement by this lady with the yellow wanting to make it. Come on. Enough.
Not to expect any further American military intervention there. That was on a call today that White House officials are diplomatically describing to us as exceptionally firm and direct, that followed President Trump's now viral 4-letter word on the South Lawn.
There was going to be a retaliation this morning by Israel, and they said you got to call back the planes. It's enough. It's enough. And they did, which I respect very greatly. So nobody was killed. That was the story. But they had a lot of planes going in the wrong direction. You know that, right?
When his plane, Air Force One, landed, a lot of pomp and circumstance today. The president was greeted by the king and the queen ahead of what's being billed right now as a social dinner with the other NATO leaders who, according to a private text message from the NATO Secretary General that President Trump screenshotted and posted online, they have all signed on to double their defense spending.
Wow, there you go.
What do you think is Trump's motivation to publish a private conversation?
I don't know, but I have absolutely no problem with that, because there's nothing in it which had to stay secret.
And it's a bit humiliating to have to explain this exchange with your allies, isn't it?
No, absolutely no problem. No, there's nothing in it which had to stay secret.
President Trump is also now teasing that tomorrow he might seek changes to Article 5. That is the NATO rule that requires all NATO members to jump to the defense of any member that gets attacked. And that could be really tough news for NATO countries that have not been paying the minimum amount of their GDP over the last couple of years. Martha.
Extraordinary. Peter, thanks.
That is fascinating. That's the first I'm hearing of that one. Changing Article 5 so that basically if a country's attacked, you're not automatically gearing up for a world war. Man, you know, I got to do more research on that. This is kind of like off the top of my head, but you know, I wonder if that would enable then Ukraine, in theory, to become a part of NATO, because even if they were attacked, it wouldn't draw us in automatically to a war. So I'd be curious. I got to flesh that out. More of you might know about this than me, but that is a fascinating thing nonetheless. So I might look that up while we're watching this next clip here with Trump's 4-letter word, frustrated. Let's just say, here we go.
President Trump is working aboard Air Force One to keep Israel and Iran committed to an historic ceasefire that he brokered. I'm Harris Faulkner. You are in the Faulkner Focus. That agreement stumbled overnight when Israel and Iran accused each other of firing missiles just after Trump had said the ceasefire is in effect. This morning, on his way to NATO, the summit there in the Netherlands, that's why he's aboard Air Force One, the president said he's out of patience with both nations.
These guys got to calm down. It's ridiculous. I didn't like plenty of things I saw yesterday. I didn't like the fact that Israel unloaded right after we made the deal. They didn't have to unload. And I didn't like the fact that the retaliation was very strong. I think they both violated it. Yeah. I don't think I'm not sure they did it intentionally. They couldn't rein people back. I don't like the fact that Israel went out this morning at all. And I'm going to see if I can stop it. So as soon as I get away from you, I'm going to see.
Well, shortly after that, the president posted this on your screen. Israel is not going to attack Iran. All planes will turn around and head home while doing a friendly plane wave to Iran. Nobody will be hurt. The ceasefire is in effect. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office confirmed he spoke with the president and that Israel would refrain from further attacks. The statement adds President Trump expressed his immense appreciation for Israel, which achieved all of its war goals. The president also expressed his confidence in the stability of the ceasefire. U.S. Ambassador to NATO, Matt Whitaker, will be in focus moments from now. We begin with senior White House correspondent Peter Doocy, who is in The Hague, Netherlands, where that NATO summit will be held later today. Peter.
Harris, good morning. President Trump's baseline throughout this conflict has been that Israel has no greater friend than the United States. But today he showed that you can still sometimes get 4-letter word frustrated with your friends.
You know what? We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing. Do you understand that?
That's turning into a TikTok sound right now. Everyone's using it for different reasons, like, you know, different memes and stuff. It's really fun to watch.
Senior administration official tells us to expect two big things out of this short trip to The Hague. The president is going to push other NATO countries to revitalize supply chains to make sure there's never an issue making weapons. And he's going to push them to more than double defense spending from 2% GDP to 5% GDP. Many European partners are putting out the word they will try to do that. But the president's frustration with other countries paying less and then expecting the U.S. to come and bail them out in a wartime has reached a boiling point, so he might be looking for a way out of the provision that requires all NATO members to defend any NATO member that gets attacked, called Article 5.
Okay, so I'm going to elaborate a little bit more on this Article 5 in Trump's statement. So on multiple occasions, Trump has questioned the U.S. obligation to defend NATO allies under Article 5, particularly if they failed to meet defense spending targets. For example, on March 6th of this year, Trump stated in the Oval Office, if they don't pay, I'm not going to defend them, and questioned whether NATO allies like France would defend the U.S. in a crisis. That has been my question that I proposed for a very long time. And the reason why I propose it is because it's really odd that when we have all these natural disasters in our country and something horrific happens, you don't really see too much aid flying over the airspace with a Chinese flag. Well, let's go with NATO. A France flag, a English flag, a Ireland flag. I don't see a Polish flag. I don't see any of those. I don't even see any planes with other countries flying in. I don't see stuff dropping from the skies when LA was on fire. No, I didn't see any of that. That's weird. So if I can't even rely on them for the small things, if we were ever under attack, how can I rely on them for the big things? Oh, well, you can look at 9/11, Brad, and see what they did and, you know, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Oh, wow. You spotted one thing in 25 years. Sick. No, that's dope. That's a lot of effort really put in. Yeah, your friend showed up one time in 25 years. Sick. Yeah, we should all be bending the knee and notifying the newspapers. Exciting. So it goes on here to say, allies like France would defend the U.S. in a crisis despite Article 5 being invoked after 9/11 to support the U.S. On June 24th, which was today, en route to a NATO summit, he avoided explicitly endorsing Article 5, saying, depends on your definition. There are numerous definitions of Article 5, and emphasized his commitment to saving lives and friendship with NATO leaders rather than a firm commitment to collective defense. So interesting. There you go.
Are you still committed to Article 5 of NATO?
Depends on your definition. There's numerous definitions of Article 5. You know that, right? I'm committed to saving lives. I'm committed to life and safety. And I'm going to give you an exact definition when I get there. I just don't want to do it on the back of an airplane.
And that could come soon because that airplane is going to land here near The Hague in about 2 hours. Harris.
Peter, thank you. Matt Whitaker, U.S. Ambassador to NATO, is in focus now. Good to see you, Ambassador. How confident is the president that he will walk into the NATO summit with a victory of a ceasefire holding between Israel and Iran?
Well, good to be with you. First of all, you know, President Trump obviously is the leader of the free world. He is setting the tone. And if you're an adversary of the United States, you want peace. If you're an ally, you want to make sure you're a strong ally. And so that's our message here at the summit tomorrow at The Hague. But, you know, President Trump is right. These sides need to stop the fighting. President Trump wants peace across all of these conflicts, and he wants prosperity across the world. And so, you know, we're in a crucial moment, but it's all because of President Trump's leadership that we have a ceasefire between Israel and Iran, you know, and hopefully he can continue to be the peacemaker and bring all the global conflicts to an end.
I'll get to some of the goals for this summit in the Netherlands in just a moment. I do want to show you something, though. Iran launched multiple missiles against an American military base in Qatar yesterday. Qatari air defenses intercepted all but one of those missiles. Thankfully, no casualties reported. The attack was in retaliation to the U.S. strike on 3 of Iran's nuclear facilities over the weekend. According to Iran, it was a strong attack, back, so on and so forth. President Trump called Iran's response weak. And one headline says the minimal response was, quote, designed as a...
It was weak. It was like Joe. It was like Sleepy Joe is that weak. Pitiful.
off-ramp to conflict with the U.S., end of quote. That was in the Washington Examiner. And the president reiterated the success of Operation Midnight Hammer just this morning.
How confident are you in Iran to be completely demolished?
I think it's been completely demolished. Iran will never rebuild its nuclear. From there, absolutely not. That place is under rock. That place is demolished. The B-2 pilots did their job. They did it better than anybody could even imagine.
Ambassador, ahead of the NATO summit, what has the president or maybe even your office been hearing from these other...
What do you guys think? You think that the nuclear site underground is destroyed? We'll go to the chat. We'll see what the chat thinks. Do you think it's a bunch of rubble? Do you think it's underwater now? What do y'all think with those big old bunker busters, those 12 bombs that went off, those big, beautiful Americana bombs at the boom? Do you guys think it was destroyed? Think there's nothing left down there, or do you think it's all intact and they're still out there slaving away?
Other countries will be represented at the NATO summit today about what's happening with the ceasefire.
Well, obviously, our allies, like the United States of America and like President Trump, want peace, but we will defend our interests. You know, I think our allies are also realizing that there are certain capabilities only the United States can bring to bear, including flying B-2 bombers halfway around the world from Kansas City, dropping a dozen bunker buster 30,000-pound bombs on an adversary and getting home safely without anybody hardly knowing that we were there in the first place. And I think that is the kind of capabilities our allies want to ally with. And that's why we're going to see history be made tomorrow here at the summit in The Hague for NATO.
Yeah, and the world is watching, but here at home and also in Israel, I would imagine, and in Iran, people are praying that this is going to hold. The Iranian people kind of caught in the middle. One last quick one on that. So the focus has been so much on the ceasefire today. The president has said, well, you know, the Iranian people are the ones who would have to bring about a regime change. Is there any conversation, anything happening around that topic with the Iranian people today?
Yeah, we're waiting. You know, President Trump is clearly the one that's going to set U.S. policy on these terms. He's been very clear as to what he wants as a result of his, bombing of Iran over the weekend. And that is an end to their nuclear program and making sure that they never have a nuclear weapon. That was a very clear articulation. He then executed it flawlessly after giving the order. And I think, again, if I'm an adversary of the United States, I want peace. And if I am an ally, I want to make sure that I live up to all my commitments and be part of the umbrella of peace and prosperity the United States offers.
Yeah, I really question that, though, because if you're not even able to write a check to meet your obligation in terms of 2% or 5%, whatever it is over at NATO, I'm sorry, but I do question your allegiance to what's being done here. It's no different than in a personal relationship. Again, try to always take things down to the individual. If you and your wife are trying to budget to save for something, it doesn't matter what it is, and she just keeps going and swiping the credit card and blowing out the budget, it really makes you wonder how committed she is to saving up for the said something that you're supposed to be doing together. Like, how committed is that individual really to saving up for that house? So it makes you wonder then, how committed is France? How committed are these people in NATO that if something were to happen, that they would actually be there and, when times get hard? But you can't even do the basics. So if you can't do the small things of cutting a check to the proportion of what you're supposed to be meeting at, then how can I rely on you for the big things? And I think somebody would be justified to ask that question.
I wonder how China and Russia are looking at this. Any quick thought on that?
Well, I mean, again, China and Russia should get in line with the rest of the free world, and they should want peace and prosperity as well. And so, I think the security challenges they present globally are a reason that we need to all make sure.
Deep fake was detected. Did you guys see that? Which one is it? Monica says, I think we redecorated, put a skylight in the bunker. Yeah, there you go. That's a good one.
Sure that we are strong, and that strength is what will ensure the peace.
All right, let's move forth. And speaking of NATO and that.
So I don't know. Let me go back a little bit because you guys were asking about footage. Let me go there. Let me play this back for you and show you what it at least looks like here. Go back here.
globally are a reason that we need to all make sure that we are strong, and that strength
Thank you, CC. I
is what
appreciate
will
that. God
ensure the
bless you, girl.
peace.
All right, let's move forth. And speaking of NATO and that Russia situation, Russia and Ukraine had wanted into NATO. We can get into that if we have time. But I want to start with what the president's objectives are. I know one is to go from GDP 2% for these nations who belong to GDP 5% of that for militaries there. Talk to me about that and whether or not that is really going to happen.
Yeah, Harris. Tomorrow, we expect that all 32 NATO allies will agree to a new path. And that path, that commitment, is going to be 5% of their GDP on defense. And
Thank you. I was muted. Now, do you guys think, I don't want to make a noise with my my drink, but I appreciate that. Yeah, I didn't realize I was muted. Do you guys think that they're going to be able to reach this commitment? Do you think that they're going to be able to contribute 5% if they can barely even do 2%? Let me know in the chat. Would appreciate that. Jason's over here with $5. Appreciate you, sir. Tarbox Jason saying dark motherfucking MAGA. Woo! Appreciate you, man. We always expect the intro from you, sir. So now it has to be every Tuesday, Thursday thing. Appreciate you, man. Always supporting the show. God bless you. But yes, people are saying no. So everyone's saying, I don't think so. I don't think they're going to be able to make the commitment. I'm right there with you.
You know, it is historic. It is probably one of the biggest foreign policy wins of this administration, of any administration.
One of these days, I'm just going to screw with you guys and actually just talk like this. But my mic's actually on. Just one of these days, I'm going to do it.
And then we're going to spend the time building out the capacity and the capabilities of the United States and especially our allies here in Europe so that they can take over the traditional defense of the European continent and allow the United States to address the challenges that we face globally from our adversaries. But at the same time, you know, our allies want to be part of this alliance with the United States.
I was just making sure you guys were paying attention. That's all it was. I knew that I was muted. I just want you're paying attention. That's good. That's good. Sucks says 5% of nothing is still nothing. Yeah, that's true. Absolutely correct.
Yeah. And we at the same time need to address all of our security challenges. And so that's why we're looking for this commitment. That's why our allies are going to deliver this commitment, because it's not just about what the United States want. Ultimately, it's what they need as well. It's what their not only economies, but their societies demand. They want security. And they have to step up. For too long, Europe has been taking advantage of the American taxpayer to provide their traditional security here on the continent. And it's just that time is over. President Trump's been very clear about that. And this is the moment where they are finally going to commit to doing that. Presidents since Eisenhower have been telling Europe they need to take over their own security. And so President Trump has delivered that. But that's a familiar refrain, whether it's the nuclear program of Iran or so many other things. President Trump delivers what these promises that politicians of the past couldn't deliver.
And just real quickly, Article 5 pulls us all in together. If one NATO member is attacked, then the United States comes forth. And from what everyone has seen across the world with what our U.S. military can do remarkably, and what our president will do, back up his word with action, do you stay in that agreement with Article 5? Or does everybody learn to defend themselves? Like what is the metric on that?
Yeah, well, Harris, everyone talks about Article 5 and the commitment that an attack on one is an attack on all. But I remind everyone immediately that it all starts with Article 3 of the agreement, which is you need to provide for collective security, but also your individual security. And so each country needs to address their unique security needs within the alliance. And then that strength within their own countries makes us all stronger. And so we have the plans in place to work together, to be interoperable, and there is a great platform here at NATO. But our European allies in Canada need to step up. For too long, they have been underspending, and now is the time, and President Trump is the one that is going to get them to finally do this.
U.S. Ambassador to NATO, Matt Whitaker, thank you very much. An important day. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Harris.
Absolutely.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to...
I think, where is it at? I think bit 416 is, somebody doesn't like Israel very much, it seems like. Again, I am not pro-Israel, but I'm also not against Israel. I think people have a right to defend themselves. But there was a comment that was made. Interesting how we complain about Europe taking our money, but never Israel. Well, there's a little bit of a false equivalence there because Europe doesn't take our money the same way Israel receives U.S. aid. So when people complain about Europe, it's often about NATO defense spending, like trade imbalances is another one, or like subsidies that are given to European companies. Basically companies' advantages. So like U.S. financial support to Israel is explicitly military aid in a long-standing strategic partnership that benefits both countries, by the way. Like Israel's basically a aircraft carrier in the Middle East. Not to mention the amount of intelligence that comes out of there for us is way more than probably we get in terms of the European Union over there. Not to mention, again, Israel is a strategic ally in a hostile region. So again, Israel sits in the Middle East, the most volatile region in the entire world. So the Middle East, the U.S. military aid to Israel ensures that we basically have a strong ally over there. If not for them, I mean, who? Israel shares intelligence with us. It conducts joint military exercises, develops cutting-edge defense technology for us, including the Iron Dome, which, by the way, that technology might even be utilized here, protects civilians from missile attacks, and helps develop with us and helps us with those developments. We get value in return from them, actually. So Israel isn't just a recipient of aid, by the way. They are a partner. Much of the almost $4 billion in annual aid we give them is spent on U.S. defense contractors. So in other words, the money stays in the American economy here, supporting jobs in the defense industry. It's not a one-way street here. And while Europe often underfunds defense and freeloads big time. So I'm just addressing you. That's why I'm looking over here. So when conservatives complain about Europe, this is a conservative channel, it's because NATO members consistently fall short of their defense spending obligations, like all the time, despite benefiting from our protection. So for years, for example, like Germany lags far behind the 2% GDP defense target, essentially relying on us taxpayers to foot the bill all the time. Israel doesn't ask America to protect it with boots on the ground. Unlike Europe, Israel doesn't call on U.S. troops to defend it. In fact, Israel forces handle their own security and regional threats, asking only for material support. Now, you might be saying, well, doesn't that contradict what just happened with the strike? Absolutely not. Is that Israel already said if the United States is not going to intervene and take care of their national security by utilizing their B-2 stealth bombers with these bunker busters, then we already have contingency plans in place to go ahead and take those out. And I've always been open to this, that I didn't want Trump to use the B-2 stealth bombers. I actually wanted Israel to go in and utilize their own strategic military forces to take out those bunkers themselves. So I've been clear on this. So the only reason majority of Middle Eastern countries hate us is because we love Israel. I don't think majority of them hate us by any means. I think that's a very big accusation. Donald Trump just did a massive Middle East tour, and they were rolling out the red carpet for the guy. They couldn't have been more happy to see the guy. It was remarkable. You didn't get that with Joey. You didn't get that with Barack Obama. I mean, the amount of people that rolled out the carpet for Donald Trump and the representation of, hey, we want to work with the United States is a remarkable thing. Not to mention Qatar, Saudi Arabia, all the involvement there, Pakistan, India. I mean, I understand India's kind of outside, but you understand what the conflict between the two. I think that's a very big mischaracterization. And all I ask is, as much as you maybe not like Israel, I think if you turn and kind of open your holistic horizon to it, I think you can find some common ground with the Israelis, and I think you should try. I think always trying to find common ground with somebody that maybe you dislike can lead to a lot of good outcomes. It really can. I try to do that with the Democrats as much as I hound them. I don't find any common ground with the left. But and I'm not saying Israel is perfect. That is not what I'm saying. But I'm trying to have more of a conversation here. Israel gives us intel on their enemies who are our enemies because they are enemies of Israel. Okay. Israel's never given a single troop in any of our Middle East forever wars that we fought for them. I don't think Iraq war was for Israel. So I'm not sure. And by the way, that wasn't really a declared war, but that's more of us going in. Iran chants death too because our partnership with Israel. No, they don't like Western values, man. And that goes into a whole religious thing we're not going to do here. But I appreciate your comments, though, in the chat nonetheless. Appreciate you having us here. I know that you tossed us a follow.
Well, obviously for this NATO summit, where there are big questions where he will go, obviously, with this big discussion with world leaders. Benny Gantz is joining us now, former Israeli defense minister and deputy prime minister. Thank you, sir, for joining us. Please do set this up for us. Obviously, in this moment of what appears to be a fragile ceasefire.
Well, all ceasefires, especially when they start, they are kind of fragile, but it's a good opportunity to say thank you for having me on your show, but also to thank the President of the United States, Donald Trump, for not just being on the right side of history, but actually to know how to make history. Israel, together with the backup of the United States, and obviously with this strategic participation by the United States forces, have pushed back a very, very serious threat, both for our country, but also for the region and the world. And I think better days are ahead of us. So we'll go through this fragile era, but let us hope that we can move forward to a more positive situation around us.
Just for the benefit of our viewers at home, Mr. Gantz, we should mention that there's a fairly substantial delay between us and you there in Tel Aviv.
Just want to give a shout out to a happy belated birthday to Betts over here, turning 21. I can't believe it. Happy belated birthday. I've been waiting to see you in the chat. You're always here, so always thank you for supporting the show. But wanted to make sure that I did give you a shout out. Happy belated birthday. I know it was a couple days ago, but man, 21, that's remarkable. Just remarkable.
The president this morning, as he was departing for the NATO summit, was none too pleased with neither Israel nor Iran. Listen to what he said.
I'm not happy with Israel. You know, when I say, okay, now you have 12 hours, you don't go out in the first hour and just drop everything you have on them. So I'm not happy with them. I'm not happy with Iran either.
Now, as you pointed out a moment ago, Mr. Gantz, ceasefires in the initial stages can often be fragile. But the president was pretty hot under the collar about the fact that neither Israel nor Iran seemed to be living up to the terms of what he had agreed to. He's just landing in The Hague in the next few minutes. He's likely watching this. What do you say to the president about what happened earlier today?
Talk about a delay. Jeez, man, what is this, like a 10-second delay they got in this guy? Holy, either that or he's slow. All right, I'm here. Let's see here. He's like drunk.
I'm sure the president knows exactly that Israel did follow the ceasefire, and actually around 10 something hour time, we were hit by the Iranians, and therefore there was some kind of retaliation. I think it was very minimal one, and I hope that we won't have to do it again. We are absolutely aware of the United States and President Trump's effort to promote this ceasefire and to close this campaign as much as possible, and we do whatever in our capacity to follow it. Pretty much is in the Iranians' hand. If they won't shoot, I guess that we won't do that as well.
Mr. Gantz, I want to play out more sound from President Trump as he was departing there for this summit. This also was earlier at the White House.
I'm not so sure if the rockets going back and forth were necessary, but at the same time, if you read a lot of history books, especially military style books, it's not uncommon for this crap to happen. Like, a lot of people are so blown away that, oh, how could they at the last minute, the last wire, be launching missiles at each other? Is it idiotic? Absolutely. And Trump has every right to be pissed off over this. But at the same time, it's not like it's wild or outlandish that this stuff is taking place. Military stuff like this happens all the time. On a daily basis, there's always something going on around the world. You just don't hear about it. Furthermore, there's also all the time, I would say every week, some sort of military engagement between different countries screwing with one another. And I would say a show that highlights this really well, I understand it's Hollywood. The West Wing is a very, very good show for you to see the type of stuff that happens on a weekly basis. It's also a very good show, a little bit manipulative in the sense that Aaron Sorkin, who's a phenomenal TV writer, he's a Democrat. I love his writing style for shows like The West Wing. He also wrote The Newsroom. Steve Jobs movie, I think it's called Jobs, with Ashton Kutcher, I think is the one that he wrote. He's a very, very good screenwriter, very snappy, witty, back and forth. But he basically took Ronald Reagan's administration and wrote a Democrat version of it. So if you watch The West Wing, it's basically the Reagan administration. That's all it is. And the only reason I found that out was I read Lou Cannon's book about Ronald Reagan. If you want a good book about Ronald Reagan, let me pull it up for you. It's a beast, man. It's a thick boy. Lou Cannon, Ronald Reagan. You can't even get it at Ronald Reagan's library. That's not it. Let me see. I think it's this one. I'd have to go look at my library. I think it's this one, The Role of a Lifetime. So this one here. Let me make sure it's a good book. It goes a little bit too far in detail, I would say, but Lou Cannon followed the Reagan administration and he goes into like almost transcripts on stuff. But anyways, when I read that book, I was like, this is basically the West Wing. This is like the West Wing almost verbatim. It's pretty wild, bonkers. So check that out. But again, I'm not too shocked that they're launching missiles at each other, but it's a normal thing to do. And it's a normal thing to do even in fighting. Everybody's going down to the wire until the bell rings.
Iran's nuclear capabilities.
Iran will never rebuild its nuclear. From there, absolutely not. That place is under rock. That place is demolished. The B-2 pilots did their job. They did it better than anybody could even imagine. They hit late in the evening. It was dark with no moon. And they hit that target with every one of those things. And there's
nothing really in that clip after, so we'll kind of end it there. I want to get into Dinesh D'Souza's take on the ceasefire between Iran and Israel is merely a sideshow for something far more significant. Let's kind of see what he has to say here.
Today expressed a kind of annoyance, a kind of irritation. And he said they are both violating the ceasefire. We're talking, of course, about the ceasefire that Trump announced just hours earlier in a massive surprise and, in fact, a massive win for him, which is, guess what? I pummeled these guys. I blew up their nuclear facilities, and now we've all kind of come to the table. We've all agreed to a treaty. Trump, for a while there, the left was salivating because they're like, Iran is really going to strike back. They're obliged to strike back. They're a revolutionary regime. And then Trump revealed, and this is really a humiliation for Iran, Trump's like, psst, 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 guess what? The Iranians called me beforehand and told me when and where they're going to strike so we could kind of basically move personnel out of there. The strike was basically, Trump even literally likened it to they were like blowing off steam. But I don't think they were blowing off steam so much as they wanted propaganda for the home audience. Like, listen, we're really going to teach them a lesson. But the Iranians realize we can't teach them a real lesson because if we kill any Americans, it's going to be hell to pay.
Exactly.
And we don't want that to happen because then essentially they'll start leveling Tehran. They'll start leveling these other cities.
Yep.
And Shiraz and so on. And so the Iranians have essentially decided to play nice doggy. But the ceasefire was apparently violated. Now, again...
it was, but come on. I mean, I think everybody is kind of taking the whole, well, the ceasefire was violated a little bit too far. Was it in technicality terms? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, we're not. I always say this. Can we stop being stupid? Yes, it was violated. But was it like violated to the point where you can't keep going forward with the ceasefire? No. It's still in effect. It's fine. They're both throwing haymakers at each other at the end. It's still in effect.
The kind of pundits who have, I think, a very poor comprehension of all this stuff are like, look, it's all breaking down again. And of course, you can see the wishful thinking on the part of the media. They're hoping all breaks down.
Definitely.
Because they would love to see things disintegrate. In fact, they were...
Well, they don't want to just see things disintegrate. They want to... Now they have a bunch of ammo to go after Donald Trump. Oh, look, he's a liar. He's a manipulator. Couldn't even get a ceasefire between two small countries like Israel and Iran. How could he ever try to negotiate anything ever again? He's not a commander in chief. He's a commander loser. You know, whatever it's going to be, right? They're just going to go off on the guy. They're salivating at the mouth for this thing to fall through.
We're hoping there wouldn't be a ceasefire. You know, you could just see on CNN and MSNBC, the hosts were like, well, Iran hasn't agreed to a ceasefire. And then their correspondent comes on and goes, well, actually, Iran has agreed. And you can see the disappointment on the face of these CNN hosts, like, oh, really? We were really hoping. So now, my view, the ceasefire, a complete and unimportant sideshow. Quite honestly, no one cares. Even Trump is, I think, pretending to care. And Trump does care because Trump basically wants to make it look like he's running everything and he's micromanaging. And
I want to see how he fleshes this one out. I actually want to see him build upon this because I don't agree with that.
I got them all where I want them. And so there's a little bit of pride here. But the point I'm trying to make is the ceasefire is unimportant. Why? Because the really important thing is the degradation, the debilitation, the destruction of Iran's nuclear facilities.
Right.
And to the degree that that's done, mission accomplished. Now, there are like 20 different ways to violate a ceasefire, right? What happens is the ceasefire is supposed to go into effect at 12 a.m. midnight. But of course, there are time differences. And so Iran can go, well, it's 12 a.m. over there, but not over here.
Yeah, that's what we were saying.
Israel and Iran goes, why don't we just fire them some rockets at the last minute? And Israel goes, well, you just killed a bunch of Israelis. We have to respond. We can't let this go. And so what you have is, it's kind of like two guys. You've pulled them apart. They're fighting. But the moment that you slightly let go, they start punching each other again. And I think Trump's view of this should be to step back and essentially say that the goal of this expedition has been achieved. Whether Israel and Iran exchange some further punches is kind of up to them.
And I think he can after this. I think now that there is a ceasefire, he can pull back. And time is huge here, even if it's a week. And his focus and the narrative is back here domestically, trying to figure out everything here. And Israel and Iran start going after each one of them again. All you have to say is, hey, look, I got no part of it. We had a ceasefire. We got our ships out of the area. We brought back 2 of our aircraft carrier strike groups. Let them have at it. That's on them. We got what we wanted. Mission accomplished. We're focused here domestically. If you guys want to focus on the Israel-Iran thing, hey, that's up to you, but we're out. I don't think necessarily the ceasefire is a sideshow. I think it builds credibility that Donald Trump can create peace over there. And if they want to destabilize it, then so have it. Does it hurt the narrative slightly? Absolutely. If don't get me wrong, I mean, it does hurt the narrative slightly if they do go back at each other. It's like, well, did he really create peace at the end of the day? For now, he did. And I expect them to go at it again. I fully expect both of them to start launching rockets at each other. The question is it just going to be a tit for tat thing? That's normally how it is. Somebody comes up, slaps you across the face, you slap them across the face, you both go home and have a beer. That's pretty much what it is going to be. It always has been the case.
Trump gave a really good view, though, of where he wants all this to go. And that is, he said, really just an hour or so ago, he said Iran needs to stop being a kind of a war nation, and it needs to start becoming a great trading nation. And right here you see, I think, how Trump views the world. Trump views the world as peaceful nations that are producing stuff, entrepreneurship, innovation, making people's lives better, and trading with each other, admittedly on fair and even terms, on what Trump would call the level playing field. But this is how you get mutual prosperity, right? You make something, you make semiconductors, Taiwan does, America needs semiconductors, we buy them from Taiwan. But the Taiwanese need stuff that we have to sell, so they open our markets to our products. And so Trump's point is Iran, admittedly, if you look at history, Iran became historically rich and powerful, both through trade and through conquest. And I don't just mean Islam. I would go further back, Cyrus the Great, the Persian Empire. So the Iranians are used to doing it both ways. And what Trump is saying is stop doing it one way, try to do it the other way. You have historical experience with both. Even under Islam, there were great trading empires, and the Muslims are very good traders. They're very good traders. I saw them function like this in India.
I saw somebody mention the ID channel is good. I actually did a true crime show on the ID network, by the way. I did an episode for the show called Twisted Sisters on the ID network. Probably, well, now it's could have been a while, 5 years ago. It's called, I don't know if it's still on there. It's called Twisted Sisters. I played a detective on that show. And I believe, if I remember correctly, Khloe Kardashian was the executive producer for that show. That was back when I did acting. That was fun. So anyways, saw that. I was like, oh, I know that channel. I was on that channel.
And Trump is like, go back to doing that. And by the way, the same is true of Israel. Look at the India-Pakistan conflict. Both countries would be better off if they traded with each other. They're smart people on both sides. They both make stuff that the other side would like to buy. And so Trump sees the solution forward as diffusing this kind of ethnic conflict, territorial grabbing, expropriation, and substituting for that production, manufacture, trade, prosperity.
Interesting take. I really enjoyed Dinesh. His books are phenomenal. I really do. I got nothing bad to say about Dinesh D'Souza. If you have an opportunity to read any of his books, just phenomenal reads. Packages information in such a way that's easy to digest, easy to understand. Love it. Now, I don't disagree with what he said, but there wasn't, I don't want to say there wasn't much there. I like how he's mentioning, hey, we would love to see the Middle East, specifically Iran, kind of move away from conquest, kind of remove itself from all these shenanigans and get into the habit of, hey, being a part of the world once again, start that trading back and, make things great again. Make Iran great again. I would love for them to see great. I would love to go travel over there. The reason why I don't is I'm not exactly feeling a ton of safety when I go there as an American, but a phenomenal country and great people. I watch YouTubers go there all the time. And I think a lot of people are remiss, or how else can I say this? I think a lot of people think that America doesn't want to see other countries thrive in the Middle East, when I think a lot of Americans, one, really don't care. And two, if they do care, I think they want to see them thrive. I think they want to see them do well. The other news here is Chuck Schumer takes aim at Donald Trump. So here's Schumer, the guy that I think would play a phenomenal penguin role in Gotham.
Our briefing is outrageous, it's evasive, it's derelict.
Oh.
They're bobbing and weaving and ducking. There is a legal obligation for the administration to inform Congress about precisely what is happening. What are they afraid of?
He did. He actually informed the entire world. I just bombed the Iranian nuclear facilities. It's kaput. It's rubble. It's a parking lot. You can't see anything. It's gone. It's dirt. Like what? What more is he gonna show you? You can see the holes in the ground, Chuck. Like, the guy informed everybody. What the hell are you talking about? Did you see the pricks, the holes? It's gone. There's nothing left. There's nothing down there. It's just soil. It's dirt. They're never going to recover. Like, what is he talking about?
All right, so that was Senator Schumer sounding upset as lawmakers will now have to wait to hear from intel leaders about the U.S. strikes on Iran. Those classified briefings that were scheduled for earlier today for the House and Senate have been postponed. Let's bring in New Jersey Democrat Congressman Josh Gottheimer. Sir, welcome to you. I should say that briefing was supposed to happen this afternoon, and it got postponed just a little bit earlier, just a little bit ago. Do you have anything to add as to why those are being postponed now?
We haven't been told why, and obviously, as someone on the Intelligence Committee, I think it's critically important that members are briefed, and so I'd like to understand what the holdup is. You know, that information to understand where we are right now, what the situation status is in the Middle East, I think is critically important, and I'm going to push, of course, like others, to get that briefing. I think the larger point, though, of course, which is important, is that Iran right now, after 12 days of strikes, is cornered. The attacks were successful, and I believe it's a critical step toward getting peace in the Middle East, and obviously a big win for our service members who did a phenomenal job the last days.
Well, you're not hearing that from all of your Democrat colleagues, sir. This is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez calling the president's actions on Iran unconstitutional.
Oh, did she? Oh, okay.
The president posted on Truth Social that
We got to listen to the #1 person that offers the most intellectual wisdom of the entire Democrat Party, AOC. Here we go.
there is a ceasefire deal between Israel and Iran. Do you believe that?
He also said that it was a war. And I think that the President of the United States admitting that he
Oh, God, here we go.
unilaterally brought the United States into a war without congressional approval is a very grave public admission. It is illegal. It is unconstitutional.
Well, she earned a response from the president. He took to Truth Social to respond to her earlier today, Congressman, and said, quote, instead of her constant complaining, Alexandria should go back home to Queens, where I was also brought up, and straighten out her filthy, disgusting, crime-ridden streets in the district she represents and which she never goes to anymore. She and her Democrat friends have just hit the lowest poll numbers in congressional history. So go ahead and try impeaching me, he says. Again, make my day. Please do weigh in on all of this, sir.
Well, they tried to impeach him and didn't go through. And, oh, well, he said it was a war, so he has to go through us. Come on, stop with the shenanigans. We see through it, and it's exhausting. Can you imagine being married to this woman and she knows what she's doing, and it's so manipulative. It's really evil, man. It's just, I hate people like that. I hate manipulative people. Where it's like, I know what you're doing. I get it. Like, let's stop with the shenanigans now. It's cool for a little bit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, early on in a relationship, it can be kind of sexy. It can be kind of fun. After a while, it's just like, shut the fuck up. We're all tired. Shut up. Like,
I mean, I'm not going to weigh in on what was clearly an unhinged rant, but let me just
on whose part?
say, let's get back. But let's get back to. I mean, it's funny. Yeah, look, I'm the president. Obviously, there was no need for him to say what he just said. But let's focus on the substance. Let's talk about what she said in terms of the substance. I believe clearly that Iran is our enemy, just along with and works closely with our other adversaries, our top ones, China, Russia, and North Korea. Them having a nuclear weapon is unacceptable. We've got to do everything we can to stop that and stop further enrichment. We know what the IAEA recently disclosed with Iran's program, which obviously they continue to move forward toward breakout, toward having a nuclear weapon. We know they're at 60% enrichment now. They get to 90%. They can have a nuclear weapon. That's unacceptable. And Iran is the world state sponsor of the world leading state sponsor of terror, right? With Hamas and Hezbollah and Palestine Islamic Jihad and others. They are a major enemy of the United States, seek to destroy freedom and democracy, and so I think it's critically important that we make sure not only they don't get a nuclear weapon, but that we stand up to their terror activity, either directly or through their proxies. So, you know, I believe what obviously actions were taken, both by our key ally Israel and, of course, by the United States, was critical to stopping a huge enemy of our country.
We hear you, and we hear you siding with the president's actions there, and noting that you are a Democrat, and not all Democrats agree. But we are watching President Trump right now arrive, Air Force One touching down there in the Netherlands for this summit. Obviously, this will be a key moment, with the backdrop being what happens next with Iran and this fragile ceasefire. As far as responding, though, the reason I questioned is whose unhinged rant, because AOC is declaring his actions on Iran unconstitutional. I'll put this Washington Post op-ed up on the screen for you, sir, to react to. With the headline, "Why Trump Didn't Have to Ask Congress Before Striking Iran." President Donald Trump had the authority to order attacks on Iran's nuclear weapons facilities without seeking congressional approval first. The claim to the contrary by several members of Congress contradicts decades of U.S. practice involving similar military deployments. Although the Constitution reserves to Congress the right to declare war, exercising that power requires the legislature to take positive action. So why is it that some of your colleagues don't see that?
Well, I disagree with some of my colleagues, but to that point, other presidents, including President Clinton in Kosovo, President Obama in Libya, obviously took action to protect an imminent threat on the United States. Iran's nuclear activity, I believe, is an imminent threat to our safety and security. So obviously deemed worthy of action. I think if you have a longer incursion, right, and a longer involvement of our forces, then the president, of course, should come to Congress. But obviously, I think these actions were necessary given the imminent threat. Not just the terror threat, but the nuclear threat. And we know that Iran is not our friend, right? Mm-hmm. They've killed scores and scores of Americans, threatened our service members, through their proxies, gone after our bases, and deserved, of course, do everything we can to stop their nuclear threat. And so obviously I think this was the right decision. It was clear and decisive in the right action. Again, I think that if there is a longer term involvement, the president should come to Congress, and also the president should brief Congress, not just the Gang of Eight. And I think it was not the right move not to brief the full Gang of Eight before. The president, his people should have done that. And they also should be briefing us with the intelligence. And I think that's very important. Those are two different things. The action in Iran is one thing, but of course, briefing us is another.
Okay. All right.
I mean, he's going to pretty much tell you the same thing that he told everybody else in the, with Pete Hegseth and the general. I think the guy was a general. Hey, we bombed these guys. We had some stealth bombers that some went to like Guam. The other ones went to Iran. We dropped some bunker busters on them. We brought the boys home. I don't know what more you need to hear. I wouldn't need to hear more. Okay, there's your brief. Cool. Everybody go home. Go do absolutely nothing, since that's similar to what they do already. They do absolutely nothing. Some other news here. Trump tells the oil industry to drill, baby, drill after Iran threatens oil supply. Here we go.
So just moments ago, President Donald Trump spoke to reporters aboard Air Force One. We've got some of that audio now. Let's take a listen.
Mr. President, if there's language in the final summit declaration about aggression by Russia, would you be okay with that kind of language?
Well, I'll have to take a look at it, but, I'd like to see a deal with Russia. As you know, Vladimir called me up. He said, "Can I help you with Iran?" I said, "No, I don't need help with Iran. I need help with you." And I hope we're going to be getting a deal done with Russia. It's a shame. 6,000 soldiers died last week. More, 6,500 soldiers died last week. Russia, Ukraine, a war that never would have happened if I was president. So enjoy your flight.
Let me ask you one more follow-up. In your comments just now about Article 5, that will probably make some people in Europe concerned. Can you clarify what you mean? Are you still committed to mutual defense?
I'm committed to saving lives. I'm committed to life and safety. And I'm going to give you an exact definition when I get there. I just don't want to do it on the back of an airplane.
Okay. And one other question on energy. What's your take on the oil price situation right now, and are you concerned?
Great. I love it. It dropped almost $10 yesterday. I put out a statement, get it down, because a lot of people aren't able to do things when the energy goes down. We're going to have a lot less conflict. So it came down, and our energy department's doing a great job. We're drilling like we've never drilled before. We're keeping it down. We're going to keep it down until all these wars are settled. Thank you very much, everybody. I'll see you.
Iranian sleeper cells in the United States.
Biden led a lot of super cells, and Biden was an incompetent president, had no idea what he was doing. hardly ever signed a document. Other people signed documents for him.
God damn it. Sorry. I've tried to do so many things here. I apologize. It's not you, okay? I knew I'd screw with you guys, but it's me. Give me a break. Yes, it's muted again. Okay. Well, it doesn't matter because I needed time to bring this thing up anyways. I keep doing it. I got to stop drinking through a straw here on the show because I just have to mute myself so you don't hear it. I know you can't read, okay, or see. I fucking get it. Are we back? Are you guys ready? I know it's on mute. I thank you for spamming, all right? I don't got it together today, okay? I'm all over the place this week. This week is shot, okay? This week was shot the moment the fucking coffee maker went everywhere, okay? The moment that coffee maker spilled all over the floor, I knew I was done. All right, so I wanted to pause it here because I wanted to talk about this because when I was suspended on TikTok, this is what we were talking about. Was the sleeper cells that Joey allowed into the country. And so they suspended me for 3 days on TikTok. I like the slurping sound. Give me more. Geez, Pat. Simmer down. Settle down in the chat. So here we go. Quote, I received a live suspension. This is my message. But misinformation is vague. What specific part of the video violated the policy so I don't do it again? Which is a fair question. You're going to suspend me for something, but then you're not going to specify what exactly I did wrong. Isn't the purpose of giving somebody a timeout is to hopefully get them to recognize that they made a mistake and that you should tell them the mistake that they made that's as clear as possible so they don't replicate that same mistake? I mean, that's the whole reason for the penalty, right? You did something wrong. Tell me what I did wrong. You go, well, you did something wrong in the realm of misinformation. Well, okay, it's alive. I say a lot of things. What part? This is their reply. These are the idiots over there. Thank you for your feedback. We'll contact you if we need more information. So they contact me a few hours later. Well, the next morning. A few hours is like 10 hours. Hi there. Thanks for contacting TikTok. We understand how important your account is to you. After further review, your live stream's future will remain temporarily banned due to a violation of our integrity and authenticity policy. That doesn't tell me anything. That's you going up to your parents and saying, Daddy, why did I get put in timeout? What did I do wrong? And for you as a parent to go, well, you're in timeout. Yes. I understand that. How often do we deal with idiots here? These are people getting jobs. Yeah, I know I'm talking to a bunch of commies. I know. So here, I follow. This is today, by the way, at 11:18, timestamps and everything. What exactly was the misinformation in the live so I don't say it again? You gave me a vague suspension. I have no idea what I even said. How can I fix it if you don't tell me what I said? Here's what they gave back to me at noon. Hi there. We appreciate your outreach. Please rest assured that we have shared with you the full extent of information we have on this matter. Meaning, they don't even fucking know what I said. Not a clue what I said was misinformation, which tells me you got a bunch of lefties out here that are going after my channel on TikTok, and they don't even have the evidence to back up what exactly was said. They just go, something was said. We don't know what, but fuck it anyways. We don't like you because you're conservative Republican. We're going to temporarily ban your shit. Everybody there's your proof. That's everything, by the way. It ends right after there. It says best the TikTok team. It's kind of cut off, but that's it. There's nothing under it. Isn't that crazy? By the way, you understand the why I am tired. I am constantly getting fucked with from all these social media platforms, and I don't even say anything bad. I want to point out to you right now, I got banned for saying something that they don't even know what I said. There's legitimately people showing them blowing their loads on TikTok right now. There's a trend right now. There's videos out there of guys jizzing everywhere on TikTok. There's women showing their no parts on TikTok right now that you can go view. Nothing's happening to them. There's women out there that pants are so low, their bush is coming out, and it's a TikTok trend. I'm not exaggerating this one bit. You can go look it up. It's a trend right now with low cut jeans like we saw in the early 2000s from women. They're growing out their no part areas, so it's sticking out from the top of the jeans, and it's a trend right now. They get to keep their stuff up, but I say something that you don't even know what I said, and I get removed. And by the way, I was reading the news. If you guys knew, I don't even share with you half of the stuff that I have to deal with. I deal with it on TikTok. I deal with it on X. I deal with it on fucking YouTube. Like, the only place I don't really deal with it is on Rumble, but Rumble's reach only goes so far. I mean, how many which ways can you just get silenced, man? You know what I mean? Oh, you got other platforms. There's your receipt. So I'm never bullshitting you. Are you okay, Brad? No, I'm pissed, man. Dude, I put in a lot of effort on this shit. It's frustrating, dude. It really is, man. Like, dude, I wake up I love doing what I'm doing, but I'm saying, like, when you're constantly given obstacles for 4 years straight, when you don't even know what you're doing wrong, and it's constant that you're being silenced, you're like, okay, like, tell me what I'm saying that's wrong so I can fix it. And they just go, well, you fucking did something. It's frustrating as shit. Like, who the fuck does that? Yeah, you did something. Oh, cool. Yeah, let's all learn from our mistakes then. Like, when you put in a lot of hard work, man, you're completely just fucking pushed down constantly, and you have the receipts to back it up. It's not like these people shouting fucking systemic racism. There's some nameless, faceless, shadowy figure out there that's holding me down. At least I can point you to the receipts of, yeah, this fucking guy right here that's writing this shit on this receipt is fucking not allowing my shit to go and can't even tell me what I fucking said was wrong. Yeah, it pisses me off. Like, why wouldn't it? I'm not upset with you. I'm upset with these assholes. Not you guys. I would never be upset with you guys. I love you. But fuck, man. Again, I don't show you guys. I try not to talk about it because I don't want it to seem like I'm complaining about, like, oh, well, you know, views or whatever. Look, we're doing fine. But God, man, I just want, like, just allow me to thrive. You know what I mean? Just allow me to thrive. Let me do my shit. And it's constant. Like, just, you can't say this. You can't even say porn. You can't cuss. Like, I mean, I got to share with somebody. You guys are the only people I talk to. So, Dizzy, I could never be upset with you, baby. Come here, Dizzy. Were you upset? Did I hurt you? I love Dizzy. Dizzy's a longtime supporter. But no, I was just commenting of, like, yeah, I'm fine. It's just like, dude, it's like, what does a guy do? You know, like, what am I supposed to do? You're kind of like, not you when I'm talking about, like, these freaking companies. Like, what do you want me to do? You can't suspend somebody and then tell them, well, we don't know what you did wrong, but we're still going to keep you suspended. Like, how is that justified? That's like putting somebody in jail and go, well, we don't know what law you broke, but sorry, bud, you're putting in the time anyways. Like, what? By the way, that's communism. You're guilty until proven innocent. Crazy. Crazy. I love you guys. Just know that. That rant was more for me. I need to get that off my chest. I feel better.
with the auto pen. It was gross incompetence. And among everything else, he let a lot of supercells in, many from Iran. But hopefully we'll take care of them.
I do feel better, by the way. Thank you. Thank you for opening up your arms to me and your households for me to freaking vent. I mean, who else am I going to yell at? Poor Dizzy's over here thinking I'm laying into him. Oh, shit. And yes, this is coffee. I never finished my second cup of coffee today. Maybe that's what it is.
What Biden did to this country should never be forgotten.
So just to digest a little bit of what the president said there, headline being that he spoke with Vladimir Putin, president of Russia. He said Putin offered to help him with Iran, to which he said to Putin, I don't need help with Iran, I need help with you in stopping the war with Ukraine. He made comments about Article 5 with NATO, hedged on U.S. commitments to that. You heard him there talking about possible Iranian sleeper cells in the U.S. He bashed the Biden administration once again for the open border. And then he talked about oil prices, saying, I do love the oil prices. They dropped $10 yesterday, and the Energy Department is doing a great job. And Dana, that is a great segue over to you, because that is what you're going to be talking about right now.
Bill Malugin, no one better at transitions than you. Yes, we want to talk about possible turmoil, get that, in the Middle East. So we're going to do a little geography lesson, and this is...
Dude, you know there's that phrase that everybody talks about is wow, she really had a glow up. Like she went from like being not very good looking to really good looking. If you saw her during the, I think I might be butchering this. Wasn't she Bush's White House press secretary? I forgot her name. Oh God. But I mean, dude, she is a babe now. She has a ton of makeup on, but she had a glow up for sure once she went blonde and like, yeah. I'll see if I can find an older picture of her.
Is the Strait of Hormuz. Okay, so this is where about 20% of the global total of all petroleum products goes through this area. And as you can see, this is Iran here in the yellow, and it's 104 miles long right here, and only about 21 miles wide at its narrowest point, which means that if the Iranians, who have said they are considering and passed in their parliament that they want to close this, that could cause big problems for the world and also those prices that the president was talking about. About 20 million barrels.
Okay, so I'm pretty sure this is her when she was press secretary. Like, dude, she looks way better now. I guess she was always blonde. I thought she was more of a brunette before.
A day goes through there, as I mentioned, 20% of the global total. Here's what the president said to the Secretary of Energy: drill, baby, drill, and he means now. So who better to ask about that than the Energy Secretary, Chris Wright. Mr. Secretary, one of the things the president just said on Air Force One is that he wants to keep it down and that you're going to keep it down. But how much of it is what you can do versus what the global supply and demand market does?
Yeah, of course, prices are set by global supply and demand, but this president's leadership has restored confidence that America will continue to be a major producer of oil and that we're close with our allies. They're the other major producers of oil in the region. When you're in negotiation and in these tense situations, three things matter. You have to have respect, you have to have carrots, and you have to have sticks. The president has brought all three of those to this situation in the Middle East.
What an interesting analogy.
Biden had carrots, but he didn't have the respect of our opponents, and he didn't bring credible sticks. And you just can't get peace. You can't get a good deal in that situation. But with this president, we can.
Okay, so I mentioned that in the
You know that guy was so giddy that he came up with that analogy and he couldn't wait to share it with the world. I'm going to get carrots and sticks going here. You got the carrot and you got the stick and you got respect with the carrot on the string with the stick.
Parliament in Iran passed a legislation or a resolution saying that they want to explore closing the Strait of Hormuz.
I love it.
But that has to go to the Supreme Leader before anything is decided. What do you know about the possibilities there?
Look, Iran has talked repeatedly about closing the Straits of Hormuz for 40 years. It's never effectively been closed. I mean, they could throw mines out there, they could shoot missiles, but think about this. All of their oil exports go through the Strait of Hormuz, all of them. All of their imports come in the Strait of Hormuz. The United States today is a net oil exporter. We don't count on any meaningful way on oil coming out of that strait. So, yeah, look, Iran would harm itself more than it would harm anyone else.
Is that not exactly what we said this morning as well? That they're the exact quote I said was they're shooting themselves in the foot. And remember, I told you that these people are crazy running Iran. That was the conversation. I said these people are psycho. They shoot themselves in the foot. And then they're going, remember, I was talking about, and then they're shooting their allies, going, oh, fuck you, boom, boom, like, Jesus, boom, boom. It's just like, calm down, put the guns away, it's going to be okay. Like, fuck you. And they're just like shooting themselves around. It's like, God, dude.
They'll probably cause a mess or trouble, but it'll be small. I think you're seeing that reflected in oil prices today. They're lower today than they were when shots were fired. Gasoline and diesel prices today are lower than they were a year ago. In the middle of a crisis in the Mideast, this is American energy dominance on full display.
Maybe one of the reasons that Iran would not want to do this is because it would hurt Asia and China in terms of closing the Strait of Hormuz. Let's show call for 3 here. 84% of the crude oil about the same amount of liquefied natural gas goes through the Strait of Hormuz over to Asia and China. And I imagine that Iran would not want to anger them at the moment. You mentioned also the price. Let's just show this here. Before the fighting, it was $68 a barrel. Today, it's $65 a barrel. Can you give America an update? We're about 6 months into
it's just this. I'm sorry. It just doesn't make sense. I think it's true. Matter of fact, I know it's true that it went down, but it's not something that makes logical sense that when you have two countries fighting in the Middle East where we know that we get our oil from, you would expect oil to become more expensive, not less expensive. It's like it's ass backwards.
The Trump administration.
I mean, I'll take it. It's cheaper gas for, well, air quotes, because I live in California. We don't really have cheap gas here, but you get what I'm saying. It's cheaper for all of you. I'm glad you're all living in free America, and I'm over here in California. California. It's terrible.
On where we are on drill, baby, drill.
Yeah, we've seen huge growth in drilling for natural gas and production of natural gas.
Not what I wanted to hear. I wanted the gold. I wanted the liquid gold, Chris. I wanted the gold to fly up and touch me like I'm putting on lotion on my face. It's getting really weird. Lotion all over my face. Just let it glisten on me. I don't want to hear a damn thing out of anybody's mouth about what just happened, okay? We're moving on here, whether you like it or not.
Because for these markets, the U.S. can produce so much today. The biggest determinant of how much we produce is how much we can move to market and be.
Krager just gave a follow. God, we have the best chats, man. We really do. You guys are too much.
Consumed. Natural gas, we're by far and away the world's biggest producer, but we need more ability to export it. I've approved more LNG export permit approvals than the second largest exporter of LNG in the world. So we see huge growth in capacity coming for U.S. exports. We're going to see reshoring of industry in the United States. That's going to consume more of our energy in this country. And our oil production, when you add in natural gas liquids, over 20 million barrels a day, we're over 20% of total global production. So I'd say the industry very strong today.
Cece's telling me to simmer now. Miss Mom says you scare me sometimes. You know that? Thank you. I appreciate that. God bless you guys. I love reading this chat. I actually feel like I'm hanging out with you guys. Krager says just gave you a follow. I still love that. It's so good. Pat says the glistening. Absolutely. Where was it? Who said it? Who said drill baby drill? I saw it somewhere. You disgust me. I need more. Shut up. I'm crying. Holy crap. I can't even read your guys' chat. I'm being sincere. Where is it? That's so good. Oh my God, you guys are great. I told you Brad is a knucklehead. Yes, yes. Jeff tells Miss Mom to settle down. Everyone's telling each other to settle down in the chat. Oh, yeah.
And we're doing everything we can to push down the break-even prices.
Okay, the ceasefire that President Trump announced last night around 6:01 p.m., right after the 5. We were like, shoot, sorry, we could have given that to us during the 5. But it's fragile. And Iran sent some rockets over that killed several people, a family of 4. Mike Tobin just reported on that.
It's terrible.
How important is it for you, as you're looking at your job and also the oil markets, that this ceasefire hold, or is the market pricing in a little bit of instability still in the region, even after a ceasefire is called?
Yeah, Dana, I don't think anyone knows exactly what the future brings here, but I think the market is pricing in confidence that American strength, American resolve is ultimately going to lead to more peace in the Middle East, and that we're not going to see any meaningful blockage of flows of oil through the Straits of Hormuz, and the U.S. will continue to be a large exporter of oil and by far the largest exporter of natural gas. So you're seeing confidence across the planet in President Trump's leadership and in his energy dominance agenda.
Let me ask you this, because we love breaking news and live TV, and President Trump just posted this. He said China can now continue to purchase oil from Iran. Hopefully they will be purchasing plenty from the U.S. also, and it was my great honor to make this happen. Is there a possibility in the discussions with China, with all the tariff stuff going on and all of the adversarial nature of our relationship, is it possible that they would be able to buy more from us?
Oh, I think it's very possible. It's very possible. Look, since when you were in the White House with President Bush, the United States was by far the world's biggest importer of oil and natural gas. Today, the biggest importer of oil and natural gas is China, and the United States has flipped into the other situation. But energy trade with our allies and with China is also a great potential stabilizing force. Sure, it could help a trade deal between the U.S. and China for China to take more U.S. energy exports. I think that's a very real possibility.
My last question is, just based on that, in terms of the flip from import to export, one of the great reasons for that is because of new technology that allowed for fracking. Are we on the cusp of any other new technologies that would allow drill, baby, drill to grow even more?
Well, we're working on it. Maybe still a few years away.
That's a no. I'll hear what he says, but that's a no.
Working on a next-generation shale technology that will enhance the recovery from shale wells. Shale has been the game changer. And
I agree, it has been a game changer, but remember what happened was when we started getting production going, and it was really beneficial. It's a lot cleaner. It's a good way to extract oil. Like, I'm not against it by any means. But then I think it was the Saudis, right? Somebody just lowered the price to the point where it didn't make sense to utilize, was it shell fracking, I believe is what it was. It didn't make sense. It was very expensive back when we were doing it. This was under, I believe, was it Trump's first term or is the end of Barack Obama's term when we started doing fracking, and it was just too expensive. I don't know if things have gotten cheaper, if we got better ways to do it, but all they did was drive the cost down of selling their barrel to the point where it just didn't make sense economically to do it ourselves anymore in terms of shell fracking.
Other big thing there, Dana, you'll see is in the Gulf of America. You know, this was a mature region, kind of on gentle decline for years. Significant growth in production in Gulf of America this year, and we'll see significant growth in production there in next year. And you followed our trip to Alaska a few weeks ago. Enormous, simply enormous untapped potential in Alaska. So there's decades more of U.S. oil production growth in front of us.
We used to see these right here. Where is it? Right there. These, hold on.
Enormous untapped potential.
We used to have these all over Southern California, in Long Beach, Seal Beach. These were everywhere. You still get like Seal Beach, Huntington Beach, Bolsa Chica. You used to have these drills everywhere, these pumps. You still get a few here and there in Huntington Beach and other places. But they just used to, you used to have these in people's backyards. And like I said, in a few places in Huntington, you'll have them right there in somebody's backyard. But they used to be everywhere. Now they're few and far between. They just don't drill anymore here. I don't know if it's because everything's been tapped, but man, these used to be everywhere here. And it's just hard to find. Here's some breaking news before we go to a couple more segments on some stuff. This is happening right here, right now. And so there's this huge claim going on where Iran nuclear strikes, U.S. claims versus intel reality. And this is kind of being sparked by CNN. And it's creating a massive storm on social media currently. Again, this is from 15 minutes ago, but I've been seeing some sprinklings of it for the last couple hours. So recent U.S. military strikes targeted 3 nuclear facilities in Iran over the past weekend, contrary to initial claims by President Donald Trump and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth of complete destruction. Early U.S. intelligence assessments suggest that the strikes did not significantly damage the core components of Iran's nuclear program, likely only delaying it by months. This discrepancy has sparked a public debate, which is going on right now as we're talking, and has led to the cancellation of scheduled classified briefing to Congress about the situation. So Caroline Levitt comes out and says, fake news, CNN strikes again. This alleged assessment is flat out wrong and was classified at top secret, but was still leaked to CNN by someone anonymous, low-level loser in the intelligence community. That is a massive problem if we have people in our government still leaking top secret information. And I hate to say it, but this isn't going to stop until you start deleting people for doing this crap. I hate to say it because you don't want to see, but if you're going to keep leaking information, you need to use somebody as a standard going forward. Say, if you're going to leak any information from our federal government, you lose your life. I am so tired of this happening. Oh, well, that seems kind of harsh. Yeah, that's what it used to be, harsh. You're right. You want to know why it's harsh? So you don't do it anymore. But people know that nothing's going to happen to them. They're willing to make this sacrifice. Oh, a little bit of jail time, a slap on the wrist. Oh, I get discharged. Oh, not a big deal. It's fine. Life goes on. But I got what I wanted. Oh, wow. A slap on the wrist doesn't do anything. No, you know what? If you think that this is so worth it, then you're willing to put your life on the line. At least I'd have a lot more respect for you. Yeah, the guy's going to be deleted, but hey, you know what? That's what he really wanted. This information was worth more than the guy's life. I'm as serious as a heart attack, by the way. I am so tired of people leaking crap. It really makes you wonder how much stuff's being leaked to China, to Russia, to Iran, to terrorist organizations. It really makes you wonder, man. The leaking of this alleged assessment is a clear attempt to demean President Trump and discredit the brave fighter pilots who conducted a perfectly executed mission to obliterate Iran's nuclear program. Everyone knows what happens when you drop 14 30,000-pound bombs perfectly on their target, total obliteration. So let's actually see what this article says. Exclusive early U.S. intel suggests strikes on Iran did not destroy nuclear sites. Oh, it's an exclusive. Let's see. The analysis of the damage to the sites and the impact of the strikes on Iran's nuclear ambitions is ongoing and could change as more intelligence becomes available. But the early findings are at odds with President Donald Trump's repeated claims that the strikes completely and totally obliterated Iran's nuclear enrichment facilities. Two of the people familiar with the assessment said Iran's stockpile of enriched uranium was not destroyed. One of the people said that the centrifuges are largely intact. Another source said that the intelligence assessed enriched uranium was moved out of the site prior to the U.S. strikes. Well, it's weird because we had reports early on this morning that they had the dump trucks there bringing stuff into the site. So the DIA assessment is that the U.S. set them back maybe a few months tops. Okay, well, it looks like we're going back in a few months, boys. Looks like we're going to be dropping a few more of those big boom booms, except this time maybe not use 12 bombs. Maybe we'll use more. How about 30, 40, 50, 100? I mean, look, Barack Obama dropped 26,000 plus bombs in a single day. That's a real stat, by the way. It was like 26,100 something bombs in one day. It's like 72 bombs an hour or something like that. Something crazy. Or a minute or something wild. I can't even remember. It's ridiculous. Something nuts. The White House acknowledged the existence of an assessment, but they disagree with it. Okay. So then you have this clip here. This is Lutnick, right? No, Witkoff, excuse me.
DIA. Early, but it was leaked. Somebody decided to leak this from the DIA. And it's being used in the media, and it's all over today, that, Trump said it was obliterated, but it's not obliterated. It's set back months, but it's not over from Iran's nuclear program's perspective. Your reaction to that, and I assume you know what we're talking about with this leaked intel report.
Well, it goes without saying that leaking that type of information, whatever the information, whatever side it comes out on, is outrageous. It's treasonous. So it ought to be investigated, and whoever did it, whoever's responsible for it, should be held accountable. It could hurt lives.
Now they'll say, "Oh well, they're not harboring or doing anything treasonous. It's not going against the nation. It's not being sent to an enemy. It's being sent to a reporter. It's not that big of a deal." Blah blah blah.
Lives in the future. Leaking is a completely unacceptable thing. But let me give you, because I've read all the damage assessment reports from not just our government, but from other governments, and I'm not going to get into anything that's top secret. But let me tell you for sure what happened here. There are three distinct facilities in Iran that we were concerned with. Isfahan, which is a conversion facility. You cannot weaponize unless you have what's called the conversion process at the beginning of enrichment, and then a conversion process to metallicize the material at the end of enrichment. That conversion facility, which as far as we know is the only facility in Iran that can do this, was completely destroyed at Esfahan. It's above ground. It was hit with a 30,000-pound bunker buster, and it could not survive that hit. So they have no conversion opportunity, and that means they cannot weaponize, even if they've enriched to 90%. Then there are two other nuclear reactors in Natanz.
Want to give you a shout out to Danielle. Thank you so much for the $10 over at YouTube. Thank you, and Patriots for the entertainment. No, thank you. I appreciate it. It's always blessed. I'm always blessed to hang out with you guys. I get to hang out with you. You're hanging out with me. It's the other way around. And also, I guess other than treason, the closest that this would be espionage. And even then, it's like you're looking at intent and all this other stuff. It's just a slap on the wrist, right? It's just a slap on the wrist for these people. They don't care about this country. Just leaking stuff left and right.
Above ground and one below ground. The below ground one, we know we eviscerated, and the above ground one, which had been hit by the Israelis and had been substantially damaged, we put another bomb on top of it just to make sure that it was eviscerated, and we know for a fact it was. Fordo is the last enrichment reactor that was operating there, and we put 12 bunker buster bombs on Fordo. There's no doubt that it breached the canopy. There's no doubt that it was well within reach of the depth that these bunker buster bombs go to. And there's no doubt that it was obliterated.
So we're getting conflicting stories here from, I guess, the White House and the intel community. But we'll have to wait and see. It's tough because, I mean, in some realm, you have to give faith, right? And it's tough to have faith in the government of the United States just because they've lied to us so much. And so when Trump comes around, or somebody that you hope's being honest with you, you kind of have to say, look, I don't know if I fully trust what's being said because I've been lied to so much. And you're kind of taking a leap of faith and believing Trump. And trust me, I want to believe him. But I'm also one of those guys that says, hey, you need to have evidence that shows us the proof that this is legit. I don't want to take somebody's word for it. What's going on, Ellie? I see you. Claire says hi too. What's going on? I know both of them. Yeah. Appreciate you guys. But you need to show evidence. You can't just say something without showing proof to it. And again, we're relying a lot on faith here, and he could be wrong. But I mean, look, if they're willing to say that this stuff was leaked, then that leans me towards the idea that maybe it wasn't fully destroyed, which, like I said, what do you go drop more bombs on this site? 12 wasn't enough. We're going to drop some more. I mean, how deep was this thing is the question. And remember, these bunker busters have never been actually used before. We've tested them. We showed footage here on the show that we tested them. The question is that how deep do these truly go? 200 feet, that's great. But this thing was, I mean, there's been claims that this nuclear site was 300 feet in the ground. I don't know what to believe. So hopefully it was destroyed. It keeps people a lot safer. But I think what happens now is we need a ceasefire. Everything needs to de-escalate. Donald Trump needs to help in that maneuver of pulling back our 2 destroyers that we have in the region, but also the 2 aircraft carrier strike groups that we have. That's really helpful to de-escalate make Iran feel a little bit more comfortable. The hope is Iran doesn't launch anything, but if they do, if they launch anything at Israel, that's a fight between them. We don't need this. We don't need this fight between us and Iran. We need to back out. We got a lot of stuff to focus on here, and we don't need this. Look, we got a lot of domestic issues. We got to get the bill going. We need those tax cuts in place because that's going to help out a lot of Americans. If those tax cuts don't go in place or in focus, you guys, coming up here, we're in some big hurting here individually. You guys are going to see a massive tax hike in your bill, and you're going to feel it. And you can thank Congress for that because these guys can't get their asses in gear, and that's going to affect a lot of people because you're going pre 2017 tax. So you've all been comfortable here for almost a decade on Trump's tax cuts that saved Americans on average about 3%. Now you'd be reverting back, and you're going to be like, whoa, what happened here? Because you're going to have a few extra thousands of dollars in tax that you're going to end up being liable for. And there can't be any complaining about this. Something else I wanted to get to is Steven Crowder here. Big fan of Steven. We were streaming live at the RNC right next to Steven Crowder, a multi-million subscriber individual. So it was Donald Trump Jr. on the screen. Then it went Steven Crowder on the screen. And then we were streaming right next to Steven Crowder and Donald Trump Jr. at the RNC, which was a big deal for us. Shout out to Rumble for making that happen, specifically Dylan over at Rumble. Greatly appreciate you. So here we go. Here's him. I believe he's calling out Candace Owens here. I don't have much of a take on her. I try to stay away from the drama. I don't like drama in real life, and I don't like drama between conservatives and influencers, but I think he lays into her here, and I'm curious to see him bring the receipts. Here we go.
Candace Owens said over and over again that President Trump would send you to die for Israel, for the Jews. I'm reading her actual ex-post. Get ready, white American men. It's time for you to go die for Israel again.
That's a weird statement coming from a conservative, I will say. That's the reason why is because Candace Owens was really big when she was the director of communications for Turning Point USA with Charlie Kirk. Very big into kind of why are you injecting race into everything? This is something that a lot of, I mean, Republicans do it too, but mostly Democrats and the progressive left inject race. I don't think the amount of melanin in your skin has anything to do with anything. I mean, we got a lot of black people. We got all races that watch the show. I've always thought it was weird that people try to inject race as a factor into contributing some sort of outcome for somebody. I think culture makes up more reasons for somebody's outcome than anything. I don't think your skin color or your race has anything to do with anything. I think it's a wild statement to make. So when she says, get ready, white American men, it's time that you go die for Israel again. I mean, there's also black people and Hispanic people in the military as well. We're a melting pot of people. It's a weird thing for her to say, but here we go. I don't know.
If you don't want to die for Israel, then you are an anti-Semite. Sign up to die in Iran for Netanyahu today, or just admit you hate Jews. Here's another one. Sheesh. They tried to redefine anti-Semitism, criminalize criticism of Israel on college campuses. Not true. Most crucially, seed the idea that the declaration of Christ as our king amounted to hatred against Jews. Also not accurate. All of this was done in preparation for the Greater Israel agenda, regarding which they attempted to emotionally manipulate Americans to accept. The conspiracy theorists were right again. It was always about a planned war with Iran and a doomed, heretical belief that mass slaughter of women and children is messianic.
Man, she's really popping off here on social media, huh? Sheesh. Again, I don't follow any of this stuff. I'm just not into the drama. I'm more into, hey, here's a bunch of news. I'll give my opinion here or there, but mostly I'm just giving you guys what's out there. And man, she's really, really going into, she's really going hard to pay. I think there is some truth to the redefining of anti-Semitism, to the idea that any negative view of Jews or Israel is deemed as anti-Semitism. I think there is some truth to that, kind of like the shift that we've seen in the word racism, where racism has turned into such a broad word now that people kind of conflate discrimination and racism with one another. I think you're kind of seeing the same thing a little bit with anti-Semitism. So I think there is some truth to this. This other stuff I'm not familiar with. I think it goes a little bit too far beyond what I kind of am into in terms of a podcaster. This is getting a little wonky for me.
Let me read that again. It was always about a planned war. Where's the planned war?
It's all part of the plan.
Yeah. This wasn't presented as an opinion. This was presented to you as fact. And I had many people go, this is clearly a planned war for Israel. That's clearly what Donald Trump is doing. He's trying to get us in. Is that what you're seeing? If it's not what you're seeing, this was dishonest. Here's another one. Our foreign policy is dictated by Israel. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. That seems like it's dictated by Israel.
That's part of the plan.
Yeah.
Deception.
Trump will continue to do as he is told by Netanyahu.
I've heard a lot of people saying this, that Trump is bending the knee to Israel and he will do what Bibi says, and that, you know, they have that meme of Trump pushing in the chair. I think that's a little bit silly, and I think I don't think there's any need for that, and nor do I think that's true. I think Trump's trying to do what's best for our allies as well as putting America first. And again, because Iran wants to wipe civilization off the face of the earth, that's not my words. That's the Iranian supreme leader, the Ayatollah Khomeini. That's him that's saying it, not me. There's a reason why they have a policy called Death to America, and it's not a slogan. That's, again, their words, not mine. I think it was in our interest to have these uranium enrichment removed from this earth. If it was or was not, I don't know, because it seems like there's some intelligence saying that it wasn't. We'll have to find that out. But I think that was in the best interest of our national security. And people say, well, Israel has nukes. Well, Israel doesn't also is not the leading funding of terrorism across the world. Iran is. I got no qualms with the Iranian people. I got every qualm with the government over there, because their government is the leading sponsor of terrorism in the entire globe. And there's no way of knowing if they have the capability of not only producing a nuclear warhead, but giving it to a terrorist organization that funnels it into New York City, Washington, D.C., it doesn't matter, it is a dirty bomb, and exploding it.
Don't drop the bombs. Okay, we won't. That sounds to me like one person's in charge. And here's the thing. That's a good thing. Shouldn't we be happy about this, guys? Shouldn't we be happy that Donald Trump at a certain point had enough and said jump, and they said how high? Both sides. Trump will continue to do as he is told by Netanyahu. If you want to know what America will do, spare yourself the fake White House press briefings and start listening to Bibi.
Wow.
We are a colony of Israel. Your politicians are bought and paid for.
You kind of see, maybe, again, I don't follow all this. There could be more context to what Candace is saying here. But just from the information I am seeing, which clearly could be biased and one-sided, fully open, I'm not against Candace by any means. I'm just a third-party person sitting back and hearing this for the first time. It does kind of give some credibility as to why she was having some issues with the guys over at the Daily Wire. I mean, a little bit.
Taking separate components. There are politicians bought and paid for by AIPAC, by the way. I can't stand AIPAC for the same reason that I hate Act Blue. They support Hakeem Jeffries. But combining that and saying that we are a colony of Israel, and spare yourself the fake White House press briefings. Also implications that everything here, everyone who disagrees, was fake. If it seems like I'm being harsh, it's because you were told that the people telling you the truth were fake, and the algorithm amplifies it, and it made your life worse, and it embarrassed you. You get it? By the way, the worst part is you don't even get to celebrate the win. No war. Good, done. No nukes in Iran. Great. America is a colony of Israel. Spare yourself all the other fake information and know that you're going to go die for Israel, which ultimately led to an entire coalition demanding the impeachment of the man you voted for. Candace Owens legitimately told service members that they should seek a dishonorable discharge, which, by the way, wouldn't be a dishonorable discharge. If you look at the way she described it, it would be desertion over a war that wasn't happening.
LG19 writes, serious question, will there be jobs or community military members can join when I get a dishonorable discharge for not contributing to delete people or my body for the interests of a certain foreign nation benefit? I love this question. I do believe that if war in Iran is on the agenda, and that appears so, get dishonorably discharged. Who cares? Who cares? Man. Why should you go die in a foreign land? You now have the benefit of 2020. You can see, think about those men and those women who died because they were pitched that they were serving their country because there were weapons of mass destruction, right? They were serving their country because the Taliban, they were serving their country, whatever, and these people gave up their lives. And ask yourselves, for what?
Yeah, desert for a war that's not even happening. And here's the thing. Yeah, I get it.
To be fair, though, she did say that if a war was to happen, right? She said that, correct? Let's go back just to the beginning of that part. I could have swore she said if there were to be a war.
I do believe that if war in Iran is on the agenda, and that appears so, get dishonorably discharged.
Okay, well, she did kind of mix the two. So I was trying to be like a middle person, but
that if war in Iran is on the agenda, and that
see, if she would have stopped there, then it would have been fine of like, okay, well, if it would have been fine in air quotes. I'm trying to build an argument here for her side. If we were to go to war with Iran, then you should discharge. Now, I don't agree with that. I think that's silly. But then she said this.
Appears so.
But that appears so. Why not just wait? She used to, say, hey, let's wait for the evidence. Let's wait for things to come out. So again, you guys, we're only seeing like 30 seconds of what she said. There could have been stuff before this and after this, right? It's kind of like one of those cop videos of a black guy getting the crap beat out of him, and you're only seeing him get the crap beat out of him, but you didn't see him delete 2 other cops beforehand and all this other stuff. And the media goes hysterical over it. It doesn't have to be a black guy, it can be a white guy, no matter who it is. You only see the video of that specific part. So I always try to take this with a grain of salt and give the benefit of the doubt where I can. And I like Candace. That's the tough thing. Is and you're you know what? It doesn't mean that everything else that she says is bad. You know what I mean? You're just seeing one moment. Guys, there's been things in the chat that you've heard me say. They're like, I don't agree with you. I give you a prime example. Nobody and none of my followers agreed with me that Tom Homan has been kind of not doing so hot. All of you say, hey, he's meeting my expectations. For me personally, he's not. But we agree on a lot of other things. So it just might be this thing that we don't agree with. And I think she's going hard in the paint on it. At least she's willing to, say what she thinks, I suppose.
Get dishonorably discharged. Who cares? Who cares? Why should you go?
Yeah, desert for a war that's not even happening. And here's the thing. Yeah, I get it. X isn't real life. But it turns into real life if people believe it.
I'm sure there's a lot more than this. I'm sure there is.
And some soldiers, I guarantee you, believed it. Some soldiers still fell for it. Some are still falling for it. Like Private who is still AWOL and doesn't know the war is over, anti-Semitic Jim. This guy got the short end. He doesn't hate.
That's so funny, though. It's so funny. I love Stephen, dude. He's so funny. I don't like what he did with the phone call with Ben Shapiro and Jeremy Boring. Like, man, I just wish that they could have. In my heart, I wish that they could make amends with one another and still be friends, because that always sucks when a friendship's ruined like that. And I don't think it needed to go that route, but that's here nor there. But this is real. This is funny.
Shoes. Look,
in an attic.
People make mistakes.
Maybe I should get these headphones. I need new headphones. These ones are actually falling apart. The ones that I'm wearing now are actually falling apart. There's a reason why you guys see me go like this, is because my sound actually cuts out. I'm too much of a cheapskate to get I don't even know how many years I've had. I don't know. I can't even tell you how many years I've had these headphones. But yeah, the sound stops working every now and then. That's why you see me go like this or adjust them so it picks it back up. But crazy though, interesting. So you guys are saying there's a lot more to this Candace Owen thing than what I'm seeing here, and I don't doubt that one bit. What's going on, Robin? It's good to see you. But it is it's fascinating and interesting to see her go so hard in the paint for something that hasn't even happened yet. Do you know what I mean? And I've heard rumors and sprinkling. It's not like I don't know anything about it. I just don't put a lot of effort into it because, again, I'm not into the drama of calling out influencers and all this other stuff. I think there's bigger fish to fry in the sense of, let's have our focus that is geared on the progressive left that's destroying this country. I don't think it's people like Candace Owens that are destroying the country. I don't think it's people like Steven Crowder that's destroying this country. It's not even the Democrats destroying this country. It's the progressive left, and their ideology is so bonkers that it's scary. And look, the right has that ideology as well, but you don't see them burning down cities, burning down buses and people's businesses, creating billions of dollars of damages that insurance companies are picking up or the taxpayer. I mean, you just mostly see it from the progressive left, and it's crazy to me. It is crazy. Agree, bad, stick to the truth, and you're correct. It's all about the Trojan horse. Yes. And that's where I want to put my focus. Now, here's the thing. Do I lose viewership because I don't buy into this stuff? Absolutely. People love the drama, man. They love that Hollywood drama. They love all of that. And I get that. There's a reason why those reality television shows do so well. They love seeing people fight with one another. And when you have these big influencers like Candace Owens, Steven Crowder, like all these huge people going at one another, it creates for good television, man. It creates for good content. And it's so easy for me to just play the video and find some stuff to comment on. I don't think that helps anything, to be honest. I don't think it helps us. It makes us look fractured. It makes us look weak as a party, where the Democrats are constantly unified. You don't ever see them really going at each other. Every now and then you do, but it's always conservative Republicans always fighting with each other. It's like, can we just stay focused here on the real goal and to dismantle the ideology of the left so it doesn't cripple our great country that we get the opportunity to be blessed to live in? I mean, we really lived. I always say this to people. We won the lottery, man, by living in this country. Even if you immigrated over here, man, you won the lottery. You don't need to go pay the $2 for the Mega Millions or whatever it is. You've already struck gold, man. You get to live in the greatest time on earth, in the greatest country on earth. And I'm not saying your life is perfect, but man, if you kind of pull back a little bit here, we live in the greatest country in the greatest time that's ever existed on this planet, on this rock that we live in. And when you look at it that way, things aren't that bad. And the thing is, I want to keep this place nice. You know what I mean? I want to keep America great. Doesn't mean we don't have flaws. You could be great, but have flaws. But man, it's just like, you got to pull back the curtain a little bit and see what we got here. And we got something great, and you got to keep it great. And there's a lot of forces out there that want to tear it down. They want to tear it down. People that turn a blind eye to the hatred of America, that's what's ruining things. Absolutely. Absolutely. And they're here. We've allowed them here. My dad was an immigrant. He came here legally. He did it the right way. He assimilated into this country. He served our country. He was in the Navy. He served our country. By the way, he served his community too. He's a cop for like the longest time before he became an accountant. So, you know, he did things the right way. Look, he created a patriot, a guy that loves this country. He clearly raised somebody correctly. You know, I'm not perfect, by the way. I got a lot of flaws myself. I'm an idiot, really. But anyways, if you guys want to follow me over at, we're over at, we're everywhere. We're Rumble, TikTok, Kick, X. We're trying to grow our following on X. It's really low. It's really hard to grow here on X, I found. It's like one of the hardest places to grow. The one that we're popping off on, again, is TikTok. If you're not following us over at TikTok, you got to be following us over there. Again, we were currently suspended, so we won't be going live. But again, we've been going, hitting million views, 900,000, 1.4 million. These are from today and yesterday, but 108,000. You know, we're getting 150,000 views, 300,000 views, 600,000 views, 500,000. So we're hitting it every week, like every other day. We're kind of striking gold here on TikTok with hundreds of. By the way, I asked to figure out like what's considered going viral on TikTok, because folks, starting this month, I had like 7,000 followers this month. If I can get 6,000 more followers in 1 month, we would have gotten 30,000 followers in 1 month. That's 1,000 people a day. That's insane. Without spending a penny is nuts. People take years to build this. We could hit 100,000 followers on TikTok this year if it stays live. That's crazy. So anyways, look at this handsome looking man. Look at it. Some of you asked if I'm bald. Here, let's zoom in on that, huh? Yes, I'm bald. Is that not enough for you? By the way, you wouldn't know. I don't know who this person is. By the way, you wouldn't know, but I actually took this photo in this room right here. The power of editing, baby. I edited all my hair off individually, believe it or not. It's crazy. But, you know, let's click on this video. I'll watch this really quick and then we'll be done.
Another Democrat, Jasmine Crockett, thinks she's the one who's, quote, supposed to make the effing decisions on whether the U.S. bombs Iranian nuclear sites. Are you kidding me? Mind you, this is the same woman who thought the Constitution was written by one of Beyonce's backup dancers. And now suddenly she's a constitutional scholar. Newsflash, the president is the commander-in-chief. He doesn't need your permission slip to defend this country. You don't run the military. You just run your mouth on MSNBC. And let's talk about her logic. Quote, we could have saved money by not bombing Iran. Lady, we're talking about Iranian nukes here, not your Amazon cart. The goal wasn't
I love you,
coupon
Bets.
clipping. It was stopping a terrorist regime from getting a nuclear weapon. Trump took out 3 nuclear sites without losing a single American life. That's precision, not waste. She also complains about, quote, cult behavior. Yeah, the cult is the one clapping while she has a meltdown about not being briefed. Maybe if she spent less time grandstanding and more time reading, I don't know, the Constitution, she'd realize the power to act swiftly and decisively in a military conflict isn't up to the House to vote on. That's leadership. That's Donald Trump. Appreciate you.
Now, some of you are like, well, Brad, why don't you do that kind of commentary on the show? I mean, we can. I try different things here. If you guys want that type of commentary, let me know. We can definitely bring that in here. I can do anything you guys want. I can go into history on topics. I can do literally anything you want. We can do it all here. I can do it all. I just try to cater to you guys and create a product that hopefully you enjoy, and it seems to be working right now. I haven't really changed it all that much because, hell, we have over 100,000 subscribers that watch the show. So why change if it ain't broken? But Beth says I need to upload these to Rumble. I will listen to you, madame. Again, happy belated birthday. I will listen to you and I will upload it. I will do that. Yes, ma'am. We will get it done, Betsy. Even Bets has a nickname here. Monica says Jasmine Crockett. Crock of shit. Yes. Hold on, I gotta show this. This is worth it. Hold on. So here's Monica. Jasmine Crock of shit. I love that. That is so funny. Like I said, we have the best community, man. We have a big community, but we have the best community. With that, I guess we'll end it there. We've been streaming for over 2 hours. I'm gonna go try to lose some weight. We'll be back here tomorrow, 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time for another episode of the Bald Brad Show. We got a lot of news to cover. A lot of stuff we didn't cover today will be on tomorrow morning show. So you definitely want to be there or be square. But if you haven't already, please think about donating to the show if you feel like you got something out of this. It does help support me. It all goes back into the show. It's not going into buying my groceries or anything like that. It all goes back into the show. So I appreciate all of you for supporting me, whether it's you just watching or you subscribing and following, hitting that like button and commenting and all that stuff. Appreciate you guys. God bless you. And folks, we'll see you tomorrow here on the Bald Brad Show. Take care, Patriots. Appreciate you.